incredible.
I didn't mention anything about neutrality or anything like that. Anyway, Karsten, congratulations. You are the International Listener of the Year for 2019.
Yeah, and the great thing about Karsten's internationalness, I don't know if that makes sense. Anyway, other than Cass, who I go to most Wigan games with, Karsten is the only other person that Paul Campbell qualifies for this as well, but I saw him in 2 different countries watching games this year, down in London and in Barcelona. So and he came over a few times this year, which I think really underpinned his International Listener of the Year credentials by getting on a plane to go to games.
Yep, good on you.
Which brings us to the final award, named after our old wrestling hero, the Electric Gigolo, or the Brit Renegade, the Andy Barden SLP Listener of the Year Award. So previous winners back in our first year of the Sloppies, it was Andy Barden. In 2015, it was Tim Griffiths.
Oh,
Who's he?
Well, another name that has disappeared from the SLP lexicon in 2016. It was Sarah Mackenzie.
Who's that?
I don't know, but I did a very happy dance when that was read out.
In 2017, it was the first time he had to change his Twitter bio. It was Fatboy Rob Ordish. In 2018, it was London fan and fantastic supporter of the show last year, Paul Chamberlain, who I got to meet this year, which was another great pleasure. This year is a first, because it's not the SLP Listener of the Year, it's the SLP Listeners of the Year, because these 2 individuals have combined to give us so much entertainment throughout the year that we couldn't give this award to just one of the 2 of them. So, if they haven't guessed it already, the winner of the SLP Listeners of the Year award are Tom and Paige.
Well done, Paige.
It's a draw. Well done, Tom.
Well done to them both.
Hashtag Team
well
Tom.
Done to them both.
Well done to both of you.
I do think it was a draw as well, wasn't it, by the end of the season, in terms of the shots fired back and forth?
Oh, they both gave us as good as they received, absolutely.
It's just a shame that young Blake's going to have to wear a half and half kit, because that's not going to go down well.
No, we don't
anyway,
like that.
I think we're all pretty much felt like these 2 were going to be very strong contenders this from the very, very early stages, certainly this year, and so it has come to pass. So well done to Tom and Paige.
Yeah, well done.
Do you think this will mean when they get married we'll get an invite?
Maybe we could do a special recording at the back of the registry office or something.
I think I can't wait for the sing-off. You know, like you have rap battles. They're going to have a when the Red Robin versus the
Old Faithful.
Kind of singing battle, aren't they? Anyway, congratulations to those guys. Thanks to everyone who's contributed this year. All the award winners certainly have stood out to us as fantastic contributors to our show. But I mean, there's so many other names we could mention this year. Looking through the list of people who did votes in the Sloppies, and then you look back to the same list of people who did votes in the predictions at the start of the year, all the people who contributed to the fan survey that we did in the middle of the year as well. I mean, that was the most responses we've ever had to anything we've done. It was really great to have a meaningful piece that we could share with the Super League and the RFL, and I just want to thank everyone for the continued support of this show.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, carry on next year.
So that sort of rounds out the 2019 Sloppies, our season-ending awards. We don't want to forget those outside of Super League, so we will now just finish off the show with some comments from clubs outside of the Super League. Right, guys, we had a few contributions that we definitely want to cover off. I don't know if Alan wants to add to those contributions, though. We're going to run through them alphabetically, the ones we had. And I did put kind of at the top of the list Bradford, if Alan wants to say anything about the 2019 year that has been.
The year that was.
Do you remember when you beat Leeds and it was like amazing?
Oh, can I just talk about that for a bit?
Yeah.
That was really good. I really liked beating Leeds. It was nice.
And then Chalmers put all that money in his back pocket and did a runner.
What money?
He must have made money that day.
Oh, well, allegedly we paid that bill. Allegedly. No, it was league-wise, as I would have expected, kind of mid-table and, kind of flirting with the playoffs, but not quite there. Great run in the Cup, disappointing quarter-final. Yeah, but we beat Leeds. That'll do.
What about...
Would your other highlight of the season not be that video that was made on the last game at Odsal?
Oh, of...
a certain commentator having had a little bit too much to drink, possibly. And Mr. Metcalf. Who could forget Mr. Metcalf?
Mr. Metcalf! We'll tell you what you think, Mr. Metcalf. Yes. Yes. Let's not go any further.
Yeah, I'd rather talk
on that
about
one.
John Keir's curtains, to be fair.
This is all, yeah.
Bring out your chintz today. Yes.
The next team to cover alphabetically is your team, Coventry Bears. Tim, what was 20? I mean, we all know what 2018 was like for the Bears because we've all got a copy of Forward, the story of
the excellently proofread Forward. Can I say?
Well, I've not found any errors yet, so you must have done a good job. The review of their 20th season. But how was the 21st season?
It was a difficult year. If nothing else, it was the year of three different grounds, which didn't help
big butt,
anyone
wide butt,
do anything.
old butt. Yeah.
Yeah. And luckily we're back at a brand newly shined, newly polished big butt next year with a nice 4G pitch that's looking rather resplendent. I'm looking forward to getting that. Hopefully that'll kickstart things. But yeah, fantastic start, those first two wins, and then it was interesting sailing from there on in. We had that very good win over Workington, and it was nice to get on the Our League app a couple of times. Last game of the season, as we spoke about, was a little bit bizarre, and having to ask people very politely not to stay on the pitch, even though I fully knew they were going to, and there was nothing we were going to do. But I'm contractually obliged to ask you to stay off the pitch.
To be fair to Whitehaven, they did win promotion.
They did win promotion, and I wasn't going to even attempt to stop them, but it had to at least pretend.
So Coventry used about 400 players this year. Is that fair to say?
56, I think it was in total. But yeah,
that's as many as I think that's as many as Salford and St Helens Shoes combined.
It's a combination of injuries, loans that perhaps didn't go the way we'd hoped. Turnover, to have your two Australian half-backs that you brought in, to have neither of them playing by midway through the season, that's not what you could plan for.
Although the Newman move was a credit to the club, yeah. Yeah,
that was well good. Mitch Shaw not working out wasn't ideal for whatever reason, and ending up at West Wales. But yeah, it's going to be another year of change next year. So lots of players moving on. We've already had quite a few of those announced, and probably more to come on that score. So losing Chris Barrett, who's been the captain and real stalwart of the team ever since turning professional. Losing Kieran Sherratt and Cam Pearce-Paul, two solid senior players in that team who going to be playing week in, week out. They've gone. And losing Tom Sang is going to be the big miss, not least for me. And maybe it's all because he lost the cake battle to Mark Sloan, so he decided that he couldn't hack it and go to London and see if he was better
the reserves coach
at Bacon and Danny Ward.
The London Broncos, isn't he? Which makes me feel he's going to already have some familiarity with some of the players that he might be playing with him, because they're probably dual registered Coventry at some point over the last 2 or 3 years. But just before we move on, then a word on on Tom Sang and what he's meant to Coventry and how you feel about him as a coach and as a person.
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite saddened really when I read it in some ways, just through missing him around the place and missing working with him. Someone very level, absolutely fantastic coach. Clearly someone who studies the game and studies coaching as a science itself. You can see that from the way he approaches things, very methodical, never too high, never too low, but always encouraging, always looking at performance rather than result. And someone who, I'm privileged to call a friend and hoping to stay in touch with, possibly staying at my flat sometimes if he's late back after training as well. So
if I were him, I'd decline that now. You've come on too strong.
Well, we've got a lovely bed for him if he ever wants it. But we'll stay in touch. But yeah, someone who really loves rugby league, loves working with players day in day out, and I don't think it's too bold a prediction to say that he will end up as a Super League coach one day.
Good stuff. Right, we have a audio review in on the North Wales Crusaders from our old friend Mark Butler.
This is Mark Butler speaking about another middling season in North Wales, although one with plenty to chew on. It was a worrying start, taking some time to gather points and then opening to the season that also contained a disastrous Challenge Cup exit to Thatto Heath. Also, on 3 occasions early on, Crusaders lost games that they were leading with 5 minutes to go, something that would ultimately prove costly. After this slow start, the wins did start to come, including eye-catching away wins at Doncaster and Whitehaven. Back-to-back home wins against Keighley and Workington made a playoff push a possibility, but the big win required to gatecrash that playoff place never really came. And if 2 of those 3 early defeats had been wins, then they could have seen the season extended, but this was not to be. The club allegedly has the lowest budget in League One, and the club's performance against this got Anthony Murray on the league's Coach of the Year shortlist. Also nice to see forward Kenny Baker, who was the Fans Player of the Year, earn himself a move to Widnes, hopefully showing that the club can show itself to be an attractive place to be. There's also been some interesting close season activity as a move to another venue, possibly another town in North Wales, was mooted. But for now, Queensway remains home despite its limitations, and it has been a positive place for the club, so possibly a good thing for now. That's all for now. Thanks for all the shows this season, and back to the show.
Brilliant, thanks for that, Mark. We also had a quick viewing from an Oldham fan, Howard Mayers. So obviously Oldham got promoted from League One. He said, slow burning but got there in the end. Hashtag up the Yeds. I mean, we all saw the back end of Oldham's season because they got to have those games on the R-League app, even though it was at about 8-year-old head height that the camera was placed. But certainly they came as a bit of a surprise in the sort of the last few months of the season, Tim, in League One, because it felt like they were not the one that were going to jump out of the pack, but they ultimately were that one.
Yeah, I mean, they've been consistent for a couple of years, been very good at being quite clinical, really shutting down other teams. They've had quite a core group that they've taken through. Scott knows, very good coach. I've spoken about him before and how much I admire him, and found it quite funny that he's decided to leave and now they got promoted. So it's very much job done for him. But yeah, and all the best to them next year.
Okay, we now have our shortest audio review. It's from Toronto Wolfpack fan Attila Murphy.
First, we didn't pay our bills. Then we won the championship. Then we won the £1 million game. And then we signed Sonny Bill Williams. I think that's enough for this season.
Do we out Attila at this stage and say that's Genghis and move on to Widnes? Sarah, what did the Widnes fans have to say about this season?
So, they were all succinct. Shane James said a community. Paul O'Brien said a rollercoaster of a season. And Neil McEwen Cohen said, lucky to still be